The crystalline archives of the Vorthak homeworld held secrets older than most civilizations. Deep within the sacred vaults, carved into walls of living stone, ancient prophecies spoke of a species that would one day emerge from the outer rim. Territories. The texts described beings of flesh and bone who would bend reality to their will through sheer determination and an inexplicable refusal to accept defeat. Elder. Maran traced his webbed fingers across the weathered inscriptions, reading words that had been dismissed as mythology for millennia. "From the third spiral arm they shall come," he whispered, his voice echoing in the empty chamber. "Neither the strongest nor the wisest, yet they shall inherit the stars through will alone." The prophecy had been authored by the eternal seers, a long-extinct race known for their ability to glimpse fragments of possible futures. Most scholars considered their writings to be elaborate fiction, philosophical parables, rather than literal predictions. After all, what rational species would believe in creatures who could somehow transcend their biological limitations through mere stubbornness? Commander Vex of the Galactic Defense Coalition received the intelligence report with barely concealed amusement. A new species had been discovered in Sector 7, calling themselves humans. They were remarkably unremarkable. Average height, moderate strength, no natural weapons or armor. Their technology lagged behind galactic standards by several centuries. They possessed no telepathic abilities, no enhanced senses, no obvious evolutionary advantages. "They're requesting membership in the coalition," reported Lieutenant Kara, her tentacles swaying with barely contained laughter. "They claim to represent their entire planet, despite having no unified government and being in a constant state of minor conflicts." Vex dismissed the report with a wave of his armored appendage. "File it under primitive species, monitor only. We'll reassess in a few hundred years when they've evolved beyond their current limitations." The first sign that the humans were different came during the Proxima incident. A routine scientific expedition had encountered a quantum storm that trapped their vessel in a dimensional pocket. The physics were clear. Escape was impossible. The crew would slowly suffocate as their life support systems failed. Standard protocol dictated acceptance of inevitable death, but the human member of the expedition, a young engineer named Tom, refused to accept the situation. While his alien crewmates prepared for their end, Tom began systematically dismantling non-essential systems. He rerouted power conduits, reconfigured the shield generators, and attempted modifications that violated basic principles of quantum mechanics. "This is illogical," protested Dr. Vex, the expedition's chief scientist. "The mathematical certainty of our situation is absolute." Tom ignored him, his hands working frantically at the control panels. "Math doesn't account for not giving up," he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "There's always another way." Somehow, impossibly, Tom's modifications created a resonance cascade that destabilized the dimensional pocket. The ship emerged battered, but intact, its crew alive against all odds. The incident was classified and quickly forgotten by most, but a few observers began to take notice. The second incident occurred during the siege of Kethra Prime. The fortress world had withstood attacks from the galaxy's most advanced military forces for over a century. Its shields were impenetrable, its defenses unbreachable. When the human vessel Determination arrived at the battlefield, the other coalition forces barely acknowledged their presence. Captain Ross studied the fortress through his ship's modest sensors. His crew consisted of barely 200 humans, aboard a vessel that the Galactic Navy considered obsolete. Yet something in Ross's eyes suggested he saw possibilities where others saw only impossibilities. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "Command is ordering us to maintain perimeter support. We're to provide covering fire for the retreat." Ross smiled grimly. "Belay that order. We're going in." What followed defied military logic. The human ship flew directly into the fortress's defensive grid, weaving between energy blasts with maneuvers that should have been impossible. Instead of attacking the shields, they targeted the fortress's waste heat vents, a vulnerability so minor that no serious military mind had ever considered it exploitable. The humans didn't just attack the vents, they flew into them. The determination disappeared into the fortress's superstructure, its crew fighting through maintenance corridors and service tunnels. They emerged in the fortress's central command hub. Having navigated a route that existed only in theory, Kethra Prime fell within hours. Its millennium-long siege ended by a species that refused to accept that some things were impossible. By the time the Galactic Council convened to address the human problem, it was already too late. Humanity had spread across 17 star systems, establishing colonies in environments deemed uninhabitable by galactic standards. They thrived in radiation-soaked wastelands, built cities in the hearts of gas giants, and somehow maintained supply lines across impossible distances. Elder Moran stood before the assembled delegates, the ancient prophecy crystal in his hands. The texts speak of a species that would reshape the galaxy not through strength or wisdom, but through a fundamental inability to accept defeat. They called them the Relentless Ones. The chamber fell silent as Moran continued reading. They shall turn disadvantage into advantage, impossibility into inevitability. What others see as barriers, they shall see as puzzles to be solved. The galaxy shall bend to their will, not because they are mighty, but because they refuse to believe they are not. Supreme Chancellor Veith leaned forward, his ancient face grave with understanding. The prophecy speaks of more than just expansion. It warns of transformation, that contact with these humans would fundamentally alter the nature of galactic civilization. As if summoned by their words, the chamber's doors opened. A small delegation of humans entered, led by Ambassador Lisa Martinez. She was unremarkable in appearance, yet something in her bearing suggested an unshakable confidence that unnerved the assembled aliens. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber, "we come not as conquerors, but as partners. We've seen what your civilizations have accomplished, and we believe that together we can achieve even more." The prophecy had been correct. The humans hadn't come to dominate through force or superior technology. They had come to infect the galaxy with something far more dangerous: the absolute belief that any problem could be solved, any obstacle overcome, any goal achieved through sufficient determination and creative thinking. In the years that followed, the transformation was gradual but inexorable. Species that had accepted the limitations of physics for millennia began to question those boundaries. Technologies that had remained unchanged for centuries suddenly advanced at unprecedented rates. The galaxy began to dream of possibilities it had never dared imagine. The ancient prophecies had been right. The humans were neither the strongest nor the wisest species to emerge among the stars, but they possessed something far more powerful: the dangerous belief that impossible was just another word for not yet solved. And in believing this, they made it true.